Hello and welcome to the Confident at Work podcast. I'm your host and your confidence coach, Anna Manning, and usually it's just me and you having a conversation, podcast to podcast. But today I've got a special guest interview to share with you because today I had a conversation with Hannah. And Hannah is a recent graduate of the Confident at Work program. So if you don't know, that is a 12-month program that professional women can join who want to build their confidence at work. And Hannah started life as a podcast listener, as you might have done, decided that she needed more help, came to work with me, joined the Confident at Work program, stayed with us in the program for 12 months, and she graduated in January. So I've had her back on the podcast to talk about all of the changes that she's made, all of the things that she's learned. And it was just amazing to hear from her about how much has changed in that time. You'll hear Hannah talk about how she was just really ready to put an end to the mental noise and to the drama that were making it really difficult for her to do her job. You'll hear where Hannah started, the work that we did and where she is now. And as you're listening to this, I'd love to invite you to think about whether you'd like to come and join us, as Hannah did, inside the Confident at Work program. We're taking on a new cohort starting in April 2026, and we are booking people in now. So if you're a professional woman, you've been listening to the podcast, and you'd like to take things a step further and get some more support to feel more confident at work, this might be the right next step for you. So if you'd like to join the Confident at Work program or even to explore it with me, head to the link in the show notes and book a call. I'll listen to what your challenges are, how you're feeling at work, and I'll help you to think about whether this is the next right step for you. All right, without further ado, here is my interview with Hannah. Welcome, Hannah, to the podcast. So you started listening to the podcast. You started your work with me as a podcast listener, like many people do. So how did you come across the podcast? What were you searching for?
So it was in October 22. So I was actually on maternity leave, and I was getting my head back in the zone to go back to work. And I was sort of dreading it. And I just thought, you know what, I want to go back. I was going back to kind of a clean slate almost. I was getting new clients and I just wanted to have a better mindset about it rather than being scared about what might happen when I went back. So I just searched workplace confidence, I think, or something like that on the podcast service. And yeah, this came up. And I think one of the first ones I listened to was about the hecklers episode, where you have these like hecklers in your head. And that just really, I just thought, oh my gosh, other people have those as well. And I just hadn't even thought about it really before then. And I even almost didn't realise they were there until it was kind of identified as a separate thing, like these hecklers. And I was like, oh wow, gosh, yeah, I've always had that voice in my head saying, oh, you can't do that. Oh, no, don't do that. Oh, that sounded stupid. I was like, oh, they are hecklers. That's really unkind. Like, that can't be. Maybe that's why I'm feeling like this. And so that was kind of listening to that episode and just, yeah, I think 5 or 6 of them I listened to within the space of a couple of days. And I was like, oh, gosh, it's, I could actually make a change. And yeah, that was kind of how I got into it and went back to work and still listened to them every week. And yeah, it definitely made a difference. I kind of identified that was something that other people get as well. And I think that was just really reassuring for when I went back.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And for people who don't know, that podcast episode was specifically kind of talking about it as if you were a stand-up comic at a stand-up comedy gig, and then there's people in the crowd that are yelling horrible things at you as you're trying to do your job. And actually, so many people, like you say, they're just trying to do their job at work, at their desk, or whatever they're doing, and they're essentially being heckled by the voices inside their head.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And even in meetings, you'd kind of be about to speak and you'd hear it like, oh, I wouldn't say that. You're going to sound so stupid. And just dealing with that noise while you're trying to speak was a kind of realization as well.
And could you said that you were, which I either didn't know or I'd forgotten, that you were on maternity leave and you wanted to come back. And you said you thought, oh, I could actually make a change. So had you been experiencing this for a long time, or was it something that had been a problem since you started your career? Could you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it had been, I mean, since I went to university, really, I felt just had kind of had this voice saying that wasn't quite good enough um, to be there, and everyone was more clever, and it was just this other voice telling me that all the time.
Mm.
And I think it's something that I had when I started my job, and then in COVID, when I was working from home for about a year by myself, it's when it really kind of got louder because there was no one else there to talk over it. I guess it was just me by myself in my bedroom, listening to that. And I went on maternity leave after COVID, and that was when I was like, I can't go back to feeling like that again. Um, and being back in the office helped, but yeah, it was that. It's something I've always had, and I think until I found the podcast, I didn't realize it was something that I just hadn't realized it was a thing. It's something you just put up with, and that was when I was like, oh, hang on, this isn't a normal way to think. It doesn't, what's the point of that?
I'm struck that you always used to say, well, it's just not a very helpful way to do things.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think a lot of the time when we were talking about it in our sessions as well, I almost felt like I had to have that voice. Like I thought it served a function because I'd always had it. And I was like, well, that must be why I work hard, or that must be why I'm good at this bit of my job. But actually, when we talked about it, and you were like, but what's the point of it? I was like, oh, yeah, I don't, I don't think it does anything. Um, and you kind of, you said, but if it wasn't there, what would happen? And I was like, oh, I'd just do my job. And it was that realization that I wouldn't just sit there and do nothing because nothing was propelling me forward. Like, obviously, I'm not going to do that. I'm still going to do my job. But it was, yeah, what was the point of that
Mm.
voice? And there isn't one. It was not helping me do my job. It was hindering me.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a common thing, Hannah, that a lot of people, and actually the research backs that up, that if you ask people, because the experience is so normal to have this kind of heckly voice in your head, people will assume that there must be some kind of good reason why. And, maybe that's quite logical for people to assume there must be some kind of good reason why that voice actually exists, because otherwise, why would it be there? And many times people think, well, actually, that's the thing that's been driving me all these years. That's the thing that's meant that I'm actually good at my job and that I've had, success and that I've got on. But what they don't notice is that behind the scenes, it has been slowly chipping away at their confidence and creating loads of self-doubt. So when you think about that, the impact of that voice, you say it wasn't doing anything, but actually I think the truth was it was doing something. And when you look back on it now, what do you see that it was doing to you?
I think it was eroding my confidence, but also just it was making me feel on edge. It was like having that boss in your head that was just constantly like, oh, this isn't good enough. This won't be good enough. You won't be good at this. Um, and that puts you into a kind of quite anxious state. It's almost too scared to try anything because that person's gonna, mock you once you get it wrong, if you get it wrong. And um, so yeah, it was having a detrimental effect on most things that I was doing at work.
You said just before we started recording that now it's been 12 months. It's been over 12 months. So you joined the Confident at Work program and you were there with us for 12 months. And you said, I actually had to look back to try and remember what the problems were when I started.
Yeah.
So that's great news because
Yeah.
that means problems solved. But could you share a little bit about what the problems felt like they were for you day to day when you started, the things that you actually wanted to get help with or change?
Yeah, so I mean, the reason that I decided that I needed to join the membership was that if I had something new to do or there was a new opportunity, I just told myself I couldn't do it. And that kind of came to a head when I'd put quite a lot of effort into winning some new business, and we did win it. And I wasn't happy about it. I was just thinking of all the things that would go wrong over the coming year. Anytime someone congratulated me, I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't be happy. And I just thought, well, what a shame. Like, what a shame that something good's happened and I can't even enjoy that part of it. Because I'm worried about what's going to happen, because this voice in my head is saying, oh, well, now people are going to find out. Like, this is when people will realise that actually, you're going to mess it up. And so that was kind of the moment where I was like, oh, I need to get some help with that, because it's ruining the nice things. And otherwise, if you don't have any nice things in your job, then what is there? So, so yeah, I kind of thought I needed to reduce that noise in my head, stop that voice, and when I wanted to be confident with new things, and address the perfectionism as well, the thought that I need to do everything 100% perfectly every time, otherwise it's not good enough. And yeah, just kind of assessing that standard I held myself to, and the fact that I was so worried about how I was being perceived all the time that it was getting in the way of actually doing the job. And I think in our sessions, I remember saying to you, like, going through my emails, I take so long sometimes to reply, because I'd be like, oh God, what if they think this because I've said this? And, and it was on simple things as well, not high risk things that should be checked, just quite simple things. And it made everything just quite exhausting. And it was just to kind of get past that, everything taking so long and being so dramatic, essentially, in my head. And that was really what I wanted to resolve, and just do the job, I'm paid to do, not all these extra bits that seem to come with it.
Yeah. In terms of extra bits, you mean like all the mental, like, bits and the perfection and the drama. Yeah.
Yeah, the drama. I just wanted a break from that drama to just do my job.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Okay. And 12 months on, where are you now?
Yeah, I feel like I am drama free for the most part. I feel like it's not as noisy in my head anymore. If when I'm looking through my emails, or if I'm in a meeting, it's quite quiet. And even if I'm in the meeting waiting to speak, I'm listening to everyone else now. I'm not sitting there going, oh my gosh, what if they ask this in 10 minutes? What if they, I don't think like that anymore. It's just quite quiet. And because it's quiet, I'm listening to the external things that I should be listening to. And then I'm in the room, like, I'm not in my head. And so I feel like it's kind of had that effect. And yeah, I think once in one of our sessions we talked about, when we talked about mistakes and things like that, because that was something I really struggled with. If I made a mistake, and I did make a mistake during that year that we were meeting, and it was very much why is it so bad? Like, why are you so horrible to yourself after a mistake? Like, why is that voice so bad? And I think I was just subconsciously, I was putting so much on that mistake. Like, oh, eventually I'll end up, with no house and no job because I made this mistake. And I was going into all that, and we went through all of those, and then this will happen, then this will happen, then this will happen. And actually saying it out loud, I was like, wow, I think I'm thinking that every time I make a mistake. And that was quite big, because I was like, well, that's exhausting for my brain to go through that every single time. And because I was doing that, I wasn't focusing on fixing it. I was just kind of just going into a big old whirlwind of that. And once I'd established that, it was much easier to just be like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, that doesn't help. I'm just going to focus on how we actually solve it. And that really helped.
Yeah. And I think when you talked about the taking on a new client, winning some new work, knowing that was going to be, involves setup and all the new things that come with that for you. And then having this perfection standard that you talk about, and then not being able to recover if there's any mistake or anything goes wrong. You would be so harsh to yourself and you would constantly be worrying about people's perception. You can see that sounds like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
And when you look back on that now, what do you make of it?
I just think, because I was looking ahead and just kind of inventing things that would go wrong. I was I was just thinking, well, if that goes wrong in 8 months' time, I'm gonna look really stupid. And just inventing all these things without any context. And that's exhausting, um, doing that. And again, not really helpful. And also I think because I knew this was such a big thing that I needed help with because something would go wrong. Like something always goes wrong. And it's fine, it's how you deal with it. And I really had to get to a place where I was going to accept that something would go wrong and that I was going to have to deal with it. And it did. And I did. But I didn't stress about it for 5 months before it went wrong. Just, and 5 months after thinking about what went wrong, it just, it enabled me to not have that big build up, that dramatic build up.
I remember that you were so worried about something going wrong. And obviously, when you have something new client, new work, you're building something new, there's always going to be some kind of teething problem, we assume. And you knew that. And I was quite pleased that the moment where something did go wrong, you were already kind of strengthened. You'd already started doing the work. You'd already started kind of changing how you were dealing with yourself and how you were managing yourself. So by the time that thing came along, which, as you say, was inevitable, I was like secretly pleased. I remember when you told me something's gone wrong, I thought, okay, this is actually good news because it gives you the opportunity while we're still working together to work through it and do something different. So Hannah, I get you're probably like most of my clients. If something goes wrong or there's a failure or a mess up, they immediately go to, I beat myself up horribly, and then I have loads of doubt about whether I can do it and whether I should be here. And it becomes this huge, mental drama. And of course, nobody likes making mistakes, right? We don't want things to go wrong, but inevitably at some point that whether it's big or small, they're going to. So can you remember the work we did when things did go wrong? Because I have this vivid memory of saying to you, okay, it's almost like you're at a crossroads here and you get to choose which path you're going to go down. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a visualization I still use now, where we've got, two paths, and one of them is what used to be the default, which is how I visualize it is like this kind of dark forest of a place. And people jump out, just silly things saying, oh, well, that's it then. You're going to get fired, and oh, you're so stupid, and that's one option to go down that with the mistake and then listen to all of that. Or there's the other path, which is just a straight yellow road, and I just sort. There's no one else on that path. That's just me sorting it out. And it's noticing that my default was to go down the forest one, but actually making a decision to just go down the straight, flat one that no one jumps out. There's no drama. That it's not loud. It's just sorting something out. And I feel like moving away from the default and actually actively choosing that path has made that now become the default. Sometimes veers back, but I can just put it back onto the right path, and just visualizing that has been really helpful. Because who wants to go into that dark forest and have people jumping out? It's not helpful. They're not going to solve the problem.
And accusing them of being stupid.
I know, exactly. Like that's not fun. So it's just actively just stopping those thoughts as soon as before they've even had time to get 2 words out. Just, oh no, we're not doing that today. We're just going to go down this path today and just get it fixed.
So did you say that you're now still able to, and you now still use that idea?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Even when even last week when I had some meetings and I was, feeling a bit nervous, which is fine, but going down that path and people, oh, what if they ask this? Oh gosh, what? I just put myself back on the other path and just, nope, you're just a person going into a room and it's straightforward. You don't need to go into the forest and listen to all the drama. So I'm kind of applying it to actually most of the things that I struggled with beforehand.
Nice. So you said that you had a big week last week, lots of meetings, lots of presenting. How would you have felt about that a year ago?
Um, I was definitely nervous, but I think the element that I didn't have this time was that voice saying I wasn't good enough. I didn't have that voice. It was, well, I've been invited to go, so obviously I am. Otherwise, why would I be here? And that, oh, well, they might ask a question and you don't know it. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just ask someone else then. It's not, I'll just go back to them if I don't know the answer. I just cutting off those kind of thoughts. Um, and yeah, still nervous, but I was putting those nerves down to, well, of course you are. That's going to be something that this is quite a big thing for you to do. So of course you're going to be nervous. And I think we talked about as well, talking to yourself more that like you're talking to a friend. If I had a friend who was doing this and they said, oh, I'm really nervous about this, I'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, you know what you're doing and it's normal to feel nervous. Just talking to myself like that, really.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it really helped with those big things.
So you've removed the hecklers from your head, and instead, you now have someone who's like, oh, don't worry, Hannah. Of course you're nervous. It's okay. You can do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
yeah,
can just
it's true.
imagine the difference in how you would feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it's similar to probably people listening to the podcast and most of the people who come and work with me. If you've never really thought about it, you might not even realize that you have a choice and that there is a way that you can speak to yourself and you can, notice that you might feel nervous and then do something with that, which is actually going to be helpful or supportive or which is going to reduce the pressure and help you to perform at your best. But until
Mm-hmm.
you've learnt that, for a lot of people, you just kind of don't know. You're sort of flying blind. And for you, and this is like a lot of people, when before you've learned those skills, when you're flying blind, you just end up in that forest with people shouting stuff at you right before you go and do a presentation.
Yeah,
And this is the stuff that
yeah.
we're just supposed to figure out. Like, yeah, I wish that maybe they do now. Maybe they're better in school now than they used to be when we were younger. But no one ever sat me down and said, right, you may have this voice inside your head and it might criticize you and say awful stuff to you. Here's what you can do about it. Like, did you ever have that growing up?
No, exactly. No. And I think until someone says to you, but they're just your thoughts, that's not real, then you're like, oh, it's like it kind of came back to the mistakes thing. I was like, oh, because I've made this mistake, they're gonna think I'm so stupid. Like, why would they want to work with someone who makes that mistake? But actually, externally, there's no proof that they thought that at all. That's all in my head. I'm assuming what they're thinking, and I'm never going to know what they're thinking really until someone takes action on something. I'm never going to know what their thoughts are. So what's the point in guessing them? So I'm not going to guess them favourably to myself. So it's yeah,
I do remember that thinking about, okay, let's separate out what you know versus what you have kind of beamed into their head, imagined that
mm-hmm.
they might be thinking.
Yeah,
So often, same with you, Hannah, but this is what most of my clients will do. They will fill in the gap with the worst possible thing that the person could possibly be thinking in any given moment. And then, of course, that created a lot of fear or a lot of anxiety.
yeah. And you're imagining them almost saying it to you, and it's causing the same reaction as if they actually did. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not nice. Like that doesn't feel nice inside, like physically. You're kind of imagining them saying it to you. And reality is, you're right, have you fixed it? Yeah, okay. that's what happens in real life most of the time. So yeah.
And I know there are instances where actually people work in really difficult environments or where people really do get called out or criticized. And that's really tough on people's confidence. But actually, for a lot of people, and I think you included, your external environment's actually, it's fairly supportive. People trust you. I guess they're not thinking the worst all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've got a very supportive environment, and I think you even said after that mistake, "Oh, what did your boss say?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." He was like, "Okay." I was like, "Oh, that was it. Like, move on."
Yeah.
So why was I making something else up in my head?
And what happens now in relation to that?
I just don't really think about it that much. I think there's obviously been other mistakes and things, but I don't dwell on them. And there's the odd typo here and there that you notice afterwards, but actually, you just move on, and I can't remember them. So, whereas I think a year ago, if you asked me what mistakes have you made in the last 6 months, I'd have been able to reel them off. Whereas now I don't know, because I'm not thinking about them for days afterwards. And yeah, and they're solved because I've just been like, oh, I need to fix that then, and then fixed it, and it's not dramatic, so I don't remember it. Don't remember non-dramatic things.
And I guess that makes a lot of sense because the drama and the fear associated with it is probably actually worse than the thing that happened. So when
Yeah,
that's taken away, the thing that happened is like, oh, okay, well, it was a thing that happened and I fixed it. And for most of
yeah,
us, there is stuff that, there's mistakes that get made or typos or there's stuff that gets missed. That is part of normal working life. But when you have a lot of drama and a lot of fear and anxiety around that, not only does it create a problem after something's gone wrong, but it almost creates a problem in anticipation.
yeah. I think that's what adds the anticipation of doing new things, because they're more likely to go wrong because you haven't done them before. And so you're kind of assuming because it's new, you'll miss something and make a mistake. And then you've got to deal with that voice afterwards saying, oh, why did you even try? Why did you try to do that? You obviously can't do it. And that's almost, it'd be easier to just not try it. And that's, you can't progress with that mindset because you'd never do anything new. It's just, it was looking at everything like, well, I don't want to try that because I'll make a mistake and then I'll have to do it with this, rather than, oh, I'll try it. I might make a mistake, but then I'll learn. It was that kind of, I think, is it the growth mindset as opposed to the fixed one, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, focusing more on, well, I have to try. And if I make a mistake, I'll sort it, rather than just completely stopping and thinking, I'm just going to make a mistake straight away, which is, it's not really how it works. Anything new I'm doing, I've still got some kind of basis in it, because I wouldn't be doing it. So, yeah, it was kind of removing that part of it, that in anticipation of something going wrong
Yeah.
when doing new things and messy things. Like, things are messy and they're not neat, and that's fine as well.
Well, that's fine when you are able to tolerate something going wrong and then pick yourself up afterwards. But it's not fine when you know that, or you're anticipating making a mistake or something happening, then that thing happens. Then you get like called out and heckled until, if you're like the comedian, you get dragged off the stage and that's just the end of your career.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. The dramatic version of that is really hard.
Yeah.
So I want to just kind of summarize and touch on some of the skills that you have developed behind the scenes, because when you look at it, there's actually quite a lot. So you've developed that skill of speaking to yourself with respect and managing yourself fairly, would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, like someone else would, like my boss would,
Yeah.
essentially.
And being supportive of yourself, noticing when you have an emotion, like you said, I was nervous. I noticed that. And then I managed myself. I said, it's okay. Like, you're going to be nervous. Here we go. Being able to trust yourself to do new things. You've developed the skill of recovery after mistakes or failures or setbacks. And then one which I also remember from kind of going along the way with you, Hannah, was I think at the beginning, you kind of struggled to acknowledge yourself for the good things that you'd done, or say, yeah, that went well, or like see the progress. And then I think you developed that as we went along. Do you remember that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think I would just anything positive. I'd be like, oh, that's nice. And then my brain would just like delete it and think of something bad I did. Um, but now I'm making more of an effort I mean, I actually write down positive comments I get or emails. I put them in a spreadsheet so that they're there and they kind of stay in my head better. And I can refer back to it if I want to. I haven't needed to, but yeah, having that, I just think, yeah, our brains just don't hold on to positives because it just doesn't, I don't know why, but they should. But yeah, it's holding on to that and knowing that I'm in this position because of good work I've done before, and not everything's hanging on my next mistake, and then it's all cancelled. Like just kind of appreciating that, I think, has been important to like notice.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that thing you describe where everything hangs potentially on my next mistake and then that's going to be it, that feels like a very precarious place to be.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, I didn't even realise I was feeling like that. I didn't think, but actually looking back, I was feeling like, yeah, everything is kind of cancelled as soon as I make a mistake. All my good work over the last decade doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Which is obviously
no
just not
pressure.
logical. Yeah, exactly. And it's yeah, just not a logical way to think. It's not real having that view. So
Yeah. So you have been through that 12 months, you've developed all of those different skills. Now that you've kind of got those tools and you've developed those skills and you've made the changes, what does that mean for your day-to-day working life?
um but it sounds quite simple, but it just means that I can just do my job um without any drama. Um and there will be cases where I kind of slip back into older ways, but I know how to get myself out of them quite quickly. But yeah, it honestly just means simply I can just do my job without the extra drama of everything. And walking home from work, just going over everything, checking my emails, making sure one I just sent was actually right. And I don't do that anymore. So it just simplifies everything. It makes I simply go to work, do my job, and then I come home. And if I feel like I need to do a bit of extra work, then I do. It's not being a perfectionist about it. It's just, oh, I'm just going to quickly pick that up when I get home, and then that's fine. And there's no drama attached. It's not, oh, you didn't get your work done in the day. You're so stupid. You don't work efficiently. No, it's none of that. Just everything's just a lot simpler in my head, and I just think a lot more clearly as I'm going through my day and as I'm in meetings. I feel like I am more present now on my days because I work 3 days a week. So my 2 days I don't work, I'm much more present. I don't feel like I have to be worrying about what's happening while I'm not there. Like, will I be going back to an email where someone's found out that I can't actually do my job? Which seemed to be the thought that was actually in my head when I thought about it. But it has had an impact on how I feel about those non-working days, and how I feel about going back on my first day back after 2 days off. Like I just feel, and even after annual leave, it has had an impact. I don't feel like I'm behind like I used to, or that someone's figured out I've done something wrong while I'm away. Like I don't have those thoughts anymore. I just, I have the usual thoughts of, oh, I've got so much to do, but that's kind of where it stops.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't escalate any more than that. It's just the usual work stress that most people, I assume, have. Yeah, it doesn't escalate.
Oh, I'm delighted to hear that for you. what does that mean for your future?
I definitely feel like I'm a lot more confident to put myself forward for things. Even just being in meetings, I am a lot more confident to just say something if I'm thinking it rather than, pre-thinking, oh, what if someone thinks this? Like, I don't really do that anymore. I can just put myself forward. And yeah, I feel like it just means I will be more confident moving forward. And I found an avenue that I would quite like to explore, and it's new. And I'm more confident in finding things that would help with that, like saying to people, well, actually, I could have training in that, and then I would be better at this, and being more confident in that and not seeing it as a weakness to admit that I'm not sure on things, to actually turn it around and be like, well, actually, I need this training to be able to do that. And that's been, yeah, just being confident in what I'm thinking, really. So I think it will mean I can move forward kind of how I want to, rather than sticking to the things I know how to do.
Great. Oh, well, thank you for sharing all that with us. It's great to hear. And is there anything that you haven't said or that we haven't touched on that you'd like to share with people? Because I know you were once, Hannah, just listening to this podcast and maybe hearing other people talking about things they'd done or things they'd changed. So is there anything that you would have wanted to hear or would like people to know?
Yeah, I do definitely think what I was a bit anxious about was kind of the live calls with other people every other week. I think that really helped, because as much as you know that other people feel the same as you, actually hearing someone else say it, like say the things that you also feel like in a completely different sector to you, it just makes you think, oh, we're all just feeling the same. And that does make you feel good, because also some of these people had clearly were quite high up and had done really great stuff. And I was like, wow, how can they feel like that when they're obviously really good? And that was quite big as well, as part of those calls, to listen to other people and their challenges and being similar. And I think as well, with the training slides that you can go through just in your own time, was really good for me, because I kept kind of dipping in and out and going back to them, and I made my own notes, and then I eventually just made the slides onto an A3 page of the three areas that I struggle with, and then a tool for each one that were in the slide, so that if I do have a wobble, I just quickly go back and look at that quite simple diagram that I did. And I think that as well as the talking, um, and the talking does help. I feel like we just uncovered a lot of things while we were discussing that I wouldn't have got to if I just listened to the podcast, because we delve a lot deeper. And actually, for every kind of thought we talked about or negative voice, it was just bringing it back and saying, yeah, but why? And then what? Then what happens? Then what happens? And eventually you just get to the stage where you're like, oh, I don't know why I even thought that. And that's quite important. And I just don't think you can do that in your own brain, really, without some prompting, because you just kind of can't unpick it yourself. So I found that hugely helpful. And to just be able to kind of speak freely to someone who doesn't really know me. Because as much as people at work would help, I just don't think you can speak as freely there as you can kind of to someone like you. So yeah, I think it really helped. It definitely was something I needed to do to really get things straight. Because
Well,
it's a lot of years that those things have been kind of going through my head. So you do need help to undo them. When it's that default pattern, you have to break the pattern, and you do need someone's help, I think, because it's so deeply entrenched. Yeah.
but it's good to hear that you can, and things do
Yes.
change.
Yeah. Yeah. And quite subtly as well. I didn't even notice it, in a way. You kind of don't really notice it. And you feel yourself thinking one of those thoughts, and you bring it back. And then a few days later, you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't spiral, nothing. I didn't do that. You kind of realize it gradually. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time with clients. They're like, "Oh yeah, oh that's weird. I wonder why that happened." And I'm like, "Yeah, I wonder why that happened."
Yeah. I know. I think I said to you as well, like it was September I was mostly dreading, because that's when everything kind of happened. And then in September we had a call, and I was like, yeah, I'm all right. I don't feel that stressed. And I was like, maybe it's, and even part of my brain then was like, well, maybe it's just because nothing stressful has happened. I was like, no, stressful things have happened, and there have been mistakes, but I just, yeah, it's not external, it's because internal's changed. It's because the internal's changed that I'm not feeling like that. So that was something good to notice as well.
Well, that you've got it. It's not the external that changed, it was the internal.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Thank you for going from being a podcast listener to coming and doing the work and making the changes that you've made. I hope it doesn't sound condescending, but I'm proud of you and I'm happy for you.
Oh, no, thank you. And thank you for all your help. I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Hannah, for joining us on the podcast.
Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed listening to that conversation with Hannah as much as I enjoyed having it. It's so nice to be able to look back with clients at where they started and how they felt at the beginning and help them to reflect on everything that's changed. I hope that it made you hopeful, that if you're anything like Hannah and you experience a lot of that mental drama and that worry about making mistakes or getting things wrong, that you can achieve what she achieved as well. If you'd like to be trained, supported by me over the next 12 months until you've built your professional confidence, then head to the link in the show notes and book a call to talk to me about joining the Confident at Work program. We start our new cohort on the 20th of April, 2026, and we would love to have you join us. So I will see you in next week's episode. Bye.
Confident, confident, confident. I can be confident, 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 confident. I can be confident at work.